What up, dude bros? I'm Frank. This is a group review of 3 Mega XL blasters. Mega XL is a new series by Nerf that shoots comically large ammo. This is the dart. This is a Mega XL dart, this is a normal Nerf Mega dart, and this is a tiny little micro dart. They kept about the same proportions, it's just comically large. Look how freaking big they are. You can shove a Nerf Elite dart into a Nerf Mega dart, and then the Mega dart into the Mega XL dart. This is the group review of the 3 initial launch blasters. The Big Rig, which is a single-shot top prime spring-powered blaster. The Double Crusher, a spring-powered pump-action 2-shot smart AR blaster. And the Boomdozer, a spring-powered pump-action 6-round cylinder-fed blaster. Group review of all 3. Let's get into it, bros. Included is the blaster in 3 darts. Included is the blaster, darts, and instructions. Included is the blaster, darts, and instructions. Overviewing the blasters one by one, starting out with the Big Rig. Up front, of course, there's no in-strike barrel lug on this one, but this is the front barrel. You load like that. It's a single-shot blaster, that's the only barrel, but you have 2 dart holders down below. The dart is comically large, but this loads just like any other normal front-loading blaster. Down below the dart storage here, we have an in-strike tactical rail on the bottom. No in-strike tac rail on the top, but this is the priming handle, so that would interfere a little bit. But you have iron sights right here and right here. But this whole piece up here is the priming handle, so to prime, you pull back like that and manually push forward. The prime action is pretty smooth, and the strength required is similar to other Nerf blasters on the market. Moving down to the trigger pull is pretty standard. This blaster does not have slam fire. And now down to the grip. This grip is smaller than average, and in my opinion is inappropriately small for a blaster of this size. This blaster is incredibly front heavy. It's not a very comfortable blaster to use because of this grip. This grip would be acceptable if it were on a very small, lightweight, balanced blaster like a Jolt or something very little, but because of the size and the weighting of this blaster, this grip is simply insufficient. And when you choke up real high on the grip because it's a small grip and you need to use as much of it as you can, when you move the slide back, you then bite into your hand and it's a little bit uncomfortable. More on this grip in my opinion, but there is a sling or lanyard mount down here. That is an external overview of the Big Rig. Now external overview of the Double Crusher. Starting up at the front, of course there's no in-strike barrel lug on this one either, but the Double Crusher is a 2-shot blaster, so you can front load 2 darts just like that. This is a smart AR system. It only fires one at a time, and it's not a shotgun. It cannot shoot both at once. But it's a smart AR system, so if you only have one barrel loaded, it will fire the one that's loaded. Moving down to the priming handle, this is a spring-powered blaster to prime. You do that. It's a fairly lightweight prime stroke, and it's a very smooth system. This one's a fun one to prime and to shoot. And this grip has enough texture and a ledge in the rear, so if you're like me and you get sweaty palms, you can still prime this blaster with a little bit of moisture on your hands. Moving up on the top here, we have an in-strike tactical rail, so if you want to put an optic or something up there, you totally can. And behind that, we have a sling mount right here. And down to the trigger pull feels pretty good, but this blaster does have slam fire. It's only a 2-shot blaster, so it's not going to save you a whole lot of time, but it's an option there if you want it. Now moving back to the grip. This has a unique grip because it's not a modern pistol, like upright grip. It's at a severe angle like a traditional hunting rifle would have, and if you're into that, it is a pretty comfortable grip. It's very accommodating to my large hand, but it's not going to alienate a small hand. And moving back, we have some dart storage in the stock, enough to hold 2 Nerf Mega XL darts. The retention of these darts is a little bit wobbly, but it's loose enough not to permanently crimp your ammo. So you could safely store ammo in here, and it's not going to damage the dart. And I left ammo in there through my whole testing procedure, and it never came out without me intentionally trying to pull it out. So the ammo holders work as intended. And down below, you have another sling mount right here. The stock comes detached, but once you snap it in, it's not intended to be removed. It's not an adjustable stock, and it's not supposed to be removable. That is an external overview of the Double Crusher. Now an external overview of the Boomdozer. Starting up at the front, of course, there's no in-strike barrel lug. Behind this gigantic muzzle is the front iron sight, which corresponds with the rear iron sight here. And also on the top, we have an in-strike tactical rail right here, so if you want to put a scope or an optic, you totally can. And moving down to the cylinder, which is the coolest part of this blaster. This blaster has a capacity of 6 darts. You can load in the cylinder like that. The cylinder does not pop out of the blaster like on a Strong Arm or Maverick. It's in place. But you can rotate the cylinder freely to expose your empty barrels to load more quickly. And again, the capacity is 6 darts. Down below is the priming handle. This is a spring-powered blaster to prime. You do that. The prime stroke requires a little bit more energy than the Double Crusher, but that's because you're rotating the cylinder as well as priming back the spring. That being said, the prime stroke is fairly smooth. And this grip, just like the Double Crusher grip, is pretty textured and has a rear ledge, so if you have sweaty palms, you can still prime this blaster fairly easily. And moving back to the trigger pull feels pretty good, and this blaster does have slam fire. However, my slam fire doesn't work super consistently. Sometimes the dart wouldn't launch and it would kind of cause a jam. In single fire, the blaster works just fine. My issue only presented when activating slam fire. And now down to the grip. Overall, this is a a pretty comfortable grip. It doesn't feel like a normal Nerf Elite blaster because this is not a normal Nerf Elite blaster. The design is a little different, it feels a little different in the hand, but it's still pretty comfortable. And I think a small or large hand will be able to use this blaster fairly comfortably. It's overall a pretty good grip. And behind that is a standard in-strike stock attachment point. Thank you, Hasbro, for putting this on the blaster. This is exactly the type of blaster that really needs a stock in order to stabilize. The blaster does not include a stock, it's just compatible with stocks that you already own. That is an external overview of all the blasters. Now I'll show you each of them firing. Starting with the big rig. And a few more. Now shooting the double crusher. Now using slam fire by holding the trigger down. Now shooting the Boomdozer. Trying some slam fire. My experience with each blaster one by one. Starting out with the big rig. Mechanically, this blaster works just fine. I did not experience any jams or malfunctions. Operating it is pretty much like every other single-shot spring-powered front-loading blaster. However, ergonomically, this grip kind of ruined the play experience for me. It's just really small, it's really difficult to hold on to this blaster, and when you want to choke up to get a nice grip, then you can't prime or you catch your hand because you have no protection here from the slide, so I pinched myself like 12 times. Mechanically, though, the blaster works just fine. My gripes about the big rig are all about the ergonomics. Operating the double crusher was a lot of fun. I did not experience any jams or malfunctions with this blaster. The Smart AR system behaved as it's supposed to. The grip is surprisingly smooth. It's a pretty simple blaster mechanically, but it's smooth. It works the way it's supposed to, and it's fun to play with. I'm not really sure slam fire is like super effective with only a 2-shot blaster, but the slam fire system does work well. So overall, very positive play experience with the double crusher. And last, the Boomdozer was a lot of fun to play with. Having 6 rounds of these massive Mega XL darts launching through the air is really fun. In single fire, I did not experience any jams and malfunctions. It behaved exactly how you'd expect it to. However, I was rarely able to fire off 6 in a row without a malfunction when using slam fire. I kept experiencing the same problem of the dart not totally launching and then binding up the cylinder. During slam fire with the Boomdozer, almost every time, at least one of the darts would not be totally launched. It wouldn't shoot out of the barrel, but it wouldn't stay put. It would just come out just like this, and then when the cylinder kept trying to rotate, it would clog up, and it would cause a jam that would prevent me from firing. I had to stop firing, push the dart in, and then continue. But it's not a flawed single barrel. The problem would present on different barrels with different ammo. I'm not really sure what's causing this. But through my testing procedure, the slam fire in the Boomdozer does not work consistently. But when I did not use slam fire and I was in single fire only, I did not experience any jams and malfunctions with the Boomdozer. And it's a lot of fun to shoot off 6 of these gigantic darts in a row. This is a fun blaster to play with. That was the firing experience with each of the blasters. Now to the chrono results. The big rig achieved an average velocity of 54 feet per second using Mega XL darts. The double crusher achieved an average velocity of 51 feet per second. And the Boomdozer achieved an average velocity of 49 feet per second. This is noticeably slower than the 70 FPS average out of the Elite series, but this is a whole new series with a different average. So it looks like the Mega XL average is going to be roughly 50 feet per second. But the first Ultra Blaster, the Ultra 1, shot significantly slower than the other Ultra Blasters, so we don't really have a big enough sample size to draw a proper average yet. But those are the results for these 3 blasters. And keep in mind, bros, it's not all about muzzle velocity. Shooting this at 50 feet per second is just a totally different experience as shooting an Elite dart at 70 feet per second. Because it's so big, it's just so comical to see something this big fly through the air. It's not like a Nerf arrow or a Titan rocket with fins. That's obviously not a Nerf dart. It's the same proportions as a Nerf dart, just really big. It's really comical. It's hilarious to see these things fly through the air. So yeah, they shoot a lot slower than Nerf Elite darts, but that's not really the point of these blasters. So that's the objective information I can provide on these blasters. Now to my personal opinion. Starting broadly with my opinion of just the new Mega XL darts. It is so much fun to shoot these things. It's way different than Mega. Mega. Shooting Mega darts are really fun compared to micro darts because they're just big, but now I feel totally ruined because when I shoot a Mega dart, they just seem so ordinary. These Mega XL darts are so big. And just like staring at it is one thing, but seeing it launch through the air is hilarious. I absolutely love the new Mega XL ammo. They're so much fun to play with. They're silly, they're goofy, they're lighthearted. I don't really think Hasbro is aiming at the competitive Nerf scene with this whole series. So obviously my opinion is calibrated accordingly. Now to my opinion on each individual blaster, starting out with the Big Rig. Overall, this blaster is fine mechanically, but I think this grip kind of ruins the whole play experience. This is not a fun blaster to use because of the grip. It's a smaller than average grip, but if this grip is small enough to fit your hand, I don't think your hand is strong enough to deal with a blaster that is this unbalanced. It's incredibly front heavy. I can manage it fine because I have a fully grown hand, but my fully grown hand doesn't fit on the grip. So if you're strong enough to handle the poor balance, I don't think you're going to fit very well in this grip. And if you're small enough to fit, I don't think you're strong enough to deal with the balance. So I don't think anybody's going to be satisfied with this blaster in the ergonomics. This is a nice thick grip for a bigger hand like mine, but if you look up here, it's still fairly narrow, so it's not going to alienate a smaller hand. It has a bunch of bulk if your hand needs somewhere to go, but it's not going to alienate a little hand. There's really no reason they couldn't have put this grip on this blaster. I'm not sure why they didn't. And because you rack the slide right over the grip, I pinched myself a number of times with this grip. It's not comfortable. They should have put a bigger piece of plastic behind the grip like this to protect your hand from the racking slide. And this extra surface area in the top allows my hand to push real high up in there to get the most out of a smaller grip. You can't do that with the Big Rig's grip, or you're going to slide over this ridge and then pinch yourself, which is just annoying. The play experience of this blaster was my least favorite of all three blasters. And because of the grip alone, I do not have a high opinion of the Big Rig. Next, my opinion of the Double Crusher is pretty high. The ergonomics and balance are pretty good. The priming handle is smooth. It works as it's supposed to. The Smart AR system behaves. The performance is in line with the other two blasters in this series, so you could call it about average. This is a fun blaster to use as a plinker. Can you make the argument that a two-shot blaster that's this big is a battle-effective blaster? Probably not. But that's really not what the Mega XL series is about. It's about plinking, it's about having fun and just being silly and goofy. And in that role, this blaster is really fun to play with. Of course, an angled grip like this and the ergonomics are not going to be for everyone. It's a little bit silly, it's a little bit goofy, but it's a lot of fun to play with, and it's a smooth operator. So my opinion of the Double Crusher is pretty high. And lastly, my opinion of the Boomdozer is also pretty high. Having 6 of these gigantic darts at the ready to fling off in quick succession is loads of fun. The prime action is pretty smooth, the grip and the ergonomics of this blaster are pretty good, and in single fire, the cylinder rotated just fine. As I mentioned, when I used this blaster in slam fire, especially shooting really fast in slam fire, I experienced a lot of hiccups. But in single fire with pump action, you can still shoot pretty fast rate of fire. It's not like it's slow or unusable without the slam fire, so that's not really a big deal for me. So overall opinion of the Boomdozer is pretty high. Now to the question to buy or not to buy. I do not recommend anyone go out and purchase a Big Rig. The grip is terrible, it really ruins the play experience. I don't like the ergonomics or the balance of this blaster. The only way I could see somebody liking this blaster is if you have a sling and you just throw it on your back for almost all of the game, and that one time you need to shoot an XL dart, you whip it out, you shoot it, and you throw it back on the sling and you ignore it. But if your hands are going to be on this for prolonged periods, if you're going to use this blaster like a lot, I don't think you're going to enjoy the experience. For those reasons, I would not recommend you purchase the Big Rig. Now to buy or not to buy the Double Crusher and the Boomdozer. First and foremost, this purchase decision all comes down to the ammo. Do you want to use Mega XL darts? If the answer is no, don't buy these blasters, obviously. And the question, do you want to buy a Mega XL dart, really comes down to what you intend to use this blaster for. If you're a competitive nerfer, I can only recommend these Mega XL darts if your game types specifically overvalue this type of ammo. For example, if shooting something with an Elite dart is completely equal to a Mega XL dart, there's really no reason to use a Mega XL dart. But there are many game types which will overvalue certain types of ammo to make it more fun and to spice things up. So if you have an objective or an NPC or some type of thing, you can hit it with an XL dart and it counts as 10 hits compared to an Elite dart, which is only 1. If that's the case, then you have a strategic incentive to use an XL dart and to just one-hit something and kill it completely. But if you don't have that incentive built into the game types that you like to play, there's no reason for a competitive nerfer to use this ammo. They're not as space efficient, you can't carry as many on you, they don't shoot as fast, they don't shoot as far. So if you're performance-based nerfer and they don't overvalue these, stick to micro darts like waffle head darts or Elite darts if you must. But I think Mega XL is going to be really successful with the plinkers, the target shooters, the lighthearted nerfers that just want to fling foam for fun. And if that describes you, I think you could have a lot of fun with these gigantic darts because it's so much fun to fling these things through the air. They're just so comically gigantic. So okay, now you're like, okay, Coop, I want to purchase a Mega XL blaster. Which one should I buy? Like I said, the Big Rig, not worth purchasing. So you're down to the Double Crusher or the Boomdozer. The Double Crusher is smaller, lighter, and leaner than the Boomdozer. The prime action on this blaster is also really smooth. The Boomdozer's prime action isn't bad, but you are rotating the cylinder as well, so it's a little bit more mechanically gritty. The Double Crusher's prime is really smooth and very enjoyable. It's only a 2-shot capacity, but if you're plinking and target shooting, the capacity doesn't really matter that much. So if you just want to experience shooting these Mega XL darts through the air, the Double Crusher might be for you. It's a little simpler, it's a little easier to load, and it's lighter, and I like the balance better. But the capacity of the Boomdozer also makes it really fun. You get to shoot off 6 in a row. It's a more substantial blaster. It's not like super heavy, but if you're really young, you might actually not enjoy this for prolonged periods. The Double Crusher is lighter and a little bit more reasonable for a smaller body. But if you're looking for capacity, having 6 of these gigantic darts is super fun. And if you're a competitive player and your game types do specifically overvalue Mega XL darts, definitely consider the Boomdozer. With overvalued ammo, you could whip this out and completely destroy a fort, completely destroy an NPC, or some overvalued tank, like a Juggernaut or something with armor or a fort or something like that. You could whip this out and just spray off 6 and completely destroy it in like 10 seconds. I'm a little bummed Hasbro didn't give us sling mounts on this blaster. I'm not really sure why. It is a substantial blaster, would be a lot of mass, but they don't even give us the option to. That's kind of annoying. I don't really specialize in purchase recommendations for target shooters or plinkers, so I'm afraid I can't give you a firm purchase recommendation on these blasters. However, both of these two blasters do work pretty much as expected. So if you want to get into the Mega XL series and you know what you're getting into, I think you could be happy with either one of these blasters. Again, the trade-off is a lower capacity but a lighter, leaner package, and more capacity, but it's a little bulkier. Might be insufficient, but that's all I've got for the purchase recommendation on a blaster type like this. Now more than ever, I really hope laying out the information will allow you to make an educated purchase decision on your own, because my purchase recommendation really isn't helpful in a case like this. But very fun series. It's nice to see Hasbro lightening up and changing things up a little. I don't think anybody asked for this series, but they did it anyways, because it's Hasbro. But hopefully I've laid out everything you need to make an educated purchase decision on your own. If you'd like to purchase any of these blasters, I'll put buy links in the description box below. That's it for this video review. Thanks so much for watching, bros, and as always, stay tactical.